What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Young Shea Gilgis Alexander, as he's now being called, Shea Gilgis Alexander the Great, um, one of the best scorers of the past 3 to 4 seasons, I'd say. This year uh, has nudged ahead of Giannis Antetokounmpo, leading the NBA in scoring now. But one of the things that was kind of interesting statistically is that his career high was only 45 points. I say only because, for a guy that averages now over 30, 50 seems like it's, especially in this age with the 3-point shot and the faster pace, more scoring, 50 is kind of like 40 nowadays, you know what I'm saying? Not like in the late 90s when dropping 50 was epic. But Shea Gilgis Alexander last night against the Utah Jazz smashed past the 50-point barrier for the first time in his NBA career. 54 points to be exact, a career high for Gilgis Alexander in the Thunder's 123-114 win over Utah. His first 50-point game in the league full of them, adding to the mystique of the league's most dominant scorer outside of the paint, that being Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic. And unlike some of the stat-padded 50-point games that we've seen in the past, not calling any names, this one, they needed every bit of them. With just under 7 minutes to play, the Jazz trailed by just one, 104-103. The Thunder had consistently tucked in teams like Utah below 500 with different objectives and different personnel. The lone team below 500 that OKC has lost to this season was San Antonio back on November the 19th. Matter of fact, on the night, Shea Gilgis Alexander had 54 points on 17 of 35 shooting. And I believe he was, 17 of 18 from the line, I believe. 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. And this is the first 50-point game for the Thunder since Russell Westbrook had 51, I believe, back in 2017. Also, with this victory and the Cavaliers' loss last night, they now share the best record in NBA, 36-7. Now, it doesn't look like anybody's going to win 70 games now, but it does look likely that the Cavaliers and the Thunder are going to finish well north of 60 wins, which, when it comes to the Thunder, we saw this coming. With all of the moves they've made, the trade that looks absolutely like one of the most lopsided in history, which involved the Clippers sending SGA to the Thunder in exchange for Paul George. My, oh my, does that look like one of the most lopsided trades in the history of the league. On par with, I would say just under, I think the worst trade in NBA history for, when I look at it, was probably that Bucks trade of Kareem back in 1975. I mean, when you look at what they got in return, that might be the worst trade in the history of the NBA. But that was way up there, the Paul George one. And I'm not saying Paul George isn't a good player, or at least he wasn't. But when you see what SGA has become, then again, that's the history of the Clippers. Well, one of the most cursed franchises in the history of the NBA. But anyway, I think that this performance, if anything, I mean, I know the Jazz aren't exactly a great team, but if anything, this separates SGA a little bit more, at least for right now, in the MVP race. Because he already has the deck stacked against him a little bit because he comes, he plays for a small market. He's Canadian. He doesn't have exactly the flashiest game. Um, I think he suffers a little bit from, if it wasn't for the team success that they're having right now, I would say he's suffering from Alex English syndrome, where he doesn't have the biggest, boldest personality. He doesn't have the flashiest game. But what he does have is consistency. Um, and, he's playing right now the best basketball of his career. And you couple that with the winning, because there's always, what I'm saying, there's always this crowd in the media that just seems like they want to always find a way to vote for Nikola Jokic. I'm not saying this to knock Jokic. I'm not. It's not knocking Jokic. It's the fact that the MVP is starting to become more like the people who are voting for the MVP is more of a favoritism contest now rather than an objective look at the players and saying to yourself, okay, who's most deserving of this award? And I feel like the media are now turning the MVP award into almost like a favoritism / reward for kissing our ass. I know that sounds crazy, but look at how the media covers James Harden versus how they covered Russell Westbrook. If you think I'm lying about this, remember, James Harden has had multiple incidences. He was arrested over in France, Paris, a couple years ago. The video footage of him getting arrested with a rapper, right? All these stories, these lurid stories about these parties he's been involved in, these incidences where he's got into it with fans, physical violence. He's on video footage hitting the guy in the face. And I'm not saying that I want the media to go after him, but I'm just saying it's like, wow, why is the media always so soft on him? But then you hear that, allegedly, well, let's just say he's an informant. At least that's what I heard allegedly. He informs the media about certain things. You know what I'm saying? He snitches. So then that makes sense. I understand. I'm just saying that's what's out there. But I got a little bit off the subject of this particular video, but I don't know, just meandered over there for some reason. So let's see. In the history of this franchise, I think he's now, I gotta think about this. I believe he's the fourth player. I believe he's the fourth in franchise history to drop 50 in a game. Let me make sure that. Yeah, I think he's the fourth. So it's SGA, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and downtown Freddie Brown. I believe those are the four guys to drop 50 points for the Sonics / Thunder franchise. So anyway, I think that this performance, and I think this little stretch, has kind of pushed SGA a little bit ahead of the pack now when it comes to this MVP race. Now the MVP race, of course, is fluid, and at the end of the day, it's far from over. But right now, I would say that SGA is a little bit ahead of Jokic, a little bit ahead of Giannis, who's been he's still been balling, but not at the level he was, I would say, back in maybe late November, early December. But anyway, that's just my opinion on this. What you guys think?